Welcome back to the Orange Jungle podcast. Today we have a very special guest, industrial designer, owner of Reeno Stews, my guy Sam. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, Omar. How you doing?
Chilling, dog. Just excited to, interview you, touch on some topics. We also have co-host today, Max.
What's up, everyone?
Yeah, introduce yourself.
My name's Max, 14, we chilling.
Hell yeah, bro. So right off the bat, what do you think of Austin?
I think it's probably not the place for me. I appreciate it a lot, though. I think that the people are super nice and super warm, and they seem very loving and positive and optimistic and happy. But it's a bit too bright and kind of country for where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I feel you. Darker palettes.
Yeah, a little bit. I need a little more monotone. It needs to be scarier right now. It needs to be more risk right now.
Okay.
Austin is super nice, though. I can see having a family and moving here or something like that.
You got family out here already, though, right?
Yeah.
Sick. So you go to RISD University, right?
Yeah, just RISD.
Okay, that's it's like an art school. I think I've heard of it once, but only through you on the podcast. That's
Exactly.
Sick. So what are you studying right now?
Industrial design.
Sick. Okay. So what it really is that? Because I know design and architecture and all that, but I've never really heard industrial design, what it entails.
$1 million question. It's no one can really answer it, but this mic is industrial design. My phone is the yerba can, the water bottle, literally everything goes through a process of a combination of engineering and product design. Okay. So the engineer makes sure everything logistically works, whereas the product designer kind of comes up with how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, the best user experience. UI, UX is all industrial design. So it's really just kind of product development, inventions.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's super broad. CAD, woodworking, metalworking, all that stuff.
So naturally, you're just always looking at how to make things better and.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Oh, my whole mission is to help and make everything better, everything that I can.
Yeah.
And, graphic design is nice.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of how to make things pretty.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in making something new. Like reinventing a printer or a screen printer, or making it as easy to print a t-shirt as it is to print a piece of paper in your house, or whatever, just all of these bigger ideas that industrial design is a bit more suited to.
Yeah, so based off of that, how long have you been kind of thinking that way or seeing the world differently from that view of wanting to change it, or how long have you had that sort of mindset?
I would say since the mock-up packs.
Really?
Yeah, because I put those out as a random idea. If you follow me, you'll notice pretty much all I do is put out random ideas that don't really make sense with the last thing. I'm always trying to do something that's different than the last thing, or bringing it to a new place. And so I had this idea of what if we made a digital product for clothing, and I was actually just making it for myself because I was spending so much time looking for different mock-ups. And I was other people could probably use this too.
Yeah.
And I had no idea it would perform so well. But when it did, I was just okay, clearly there's a need for this. And people need help. And they need a door, an entrance in. Because a lot of people send me mock-ups that they made with my mock-up pack that are garbage, but they just started.
Yeah.
It's this is my very first mock-up.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the mock-up pack. So of course it's garbage because they're just starting. It's the first one. But I made that thing that allowed them to start.
Yeah.
I've had a bunch of people tell me I've wanted to do this for so long, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of figure it out, but also, it is gatekept on purpose. And it is intended to make it harder to get in the door.
Yeah.
So I think mock-ups were the first step to that, and then I started having a lot of other ideas for products that weren't digital. And I just also think it's fun to do stuff that doesn't make sense as much, or it's harder, or it's not the obvious path. Like, it would have been just so obvious if I just would have gone in and just done graphic design. Just like, what's going to happen then? I just become a really great graphic designer? I don't know. I didn't really care about it.
For anybody starting a clothing brand, like, your name is going to pop up, like, for sure. Like, for me, I was so confused. Like, how do people get these, like, designs made, or, like, mock-ups? And, like, I would go on Google and get, like, these low pixelated mock-ups, and, like, it would just, like, affect the way that my things turned out. So, like, your mock-ups definitely have helped me this past year. And, like, I know anytime someone starts a clothing brand, I tell them, like, go to Reno's, or, like, look up Reno's. They're kind of, you know. And, like, I've even gotten, like, clients through your mock-ups. Like, they want me to, like, make their mock-ups, and I've used your mock-up pack, which is really cool. So to go back a little bit before the mock-ups, you have a background in, like, illustration and graphic design, and, like, you've even worked with, like, I remember, like, I went to your YouTube last night, and it, like, little news section about you working with Billie Eilish. Like, that was really cool. Like, how was that, like, at a young age? Like, how did that affect the way you saw the possibilities of, like, your future and whatnot?
That was everything to me. And, you know, I'll never stop thanking Billie for that. Like, we gotta respect Billie Eilish as a cultural figure, and one of the greatest that we have right now too. Just, like, in terms of impact, and, you know, the music is great, and she really helped me get my start. I was working a job that I wasn't messing with.
The pizza job, right?
Yeah, pizza shop, the classic backstory.
Was it like a local pizza, or was it like one of those big corporate?
No, it was just like a local pizza chain. It was a family-owned thing. I mean, it was nice. It was good pizza. It was good. You know what I mean? It's pizza. It's good.
That's fire.
But I didn't like having a boss. I didn't like that he was, you know, I didn't really like how I was being treated. Like, I was just kind of a robot.
Yeah.
And it really hit me a couple times, but one of the main things was, like, one day I started feeling happy because I noticed that I was, like, really getting really fast at making pizza boxes. And as soon as I got really happy, I got really sad because I was like, I'm getting really good at folding pizza boxes. Yeah. I should be getting really good at something that's going to help the world, or, like, make some kind of a change or impact. Yeah. And I was looking at these people like Billie Eilish and everybody else that's alive that's my age making a difference. And this is when I was 16. And I just decided I was going to get out of the job. I decided that I was going to outgrow my income, and that I was going to make it in art. It was just like a decision. I was just like, I have to, because I can't do this. I don't like it. I don't enjoy this. And I just decided, and I prayed, and I visualized, and I worked every single day, in school, out of school, during work. Yeah. And, you know, in the first 2 months of doing that, I was talking to Billie Eilish, and we had a collab shirt on the way with 0 connections. It's my first collab. Wow. Billie Eilish.
That's pretty sick.
At 16, I never had any other connections before that. And it showed me, like you were talking about, it just showed me everything is possible. Nothing is off limits. And it also showed me that you can skip steps when you're doing it in a way that's more spiritual and not just trying to take everything into your own hands and saying, oh, I know what to do, because you don't. You never do. But if you can just trust that it's going to happen and do the best that you can do, you'll get feelings of certain things to do that may not make the most sense, but they make it happen. Yeah. Like drawing that picture of her that ended up going so, you know, viral or getting big in her fan base. Yeah. It was just a random feeling.
No, that's cool. And you mentioned, like, not looking at yourself like you know exactly what to do at all times, but at the same time, it's like you got to have that confidence and that belief in yourself, while also staying away from being, like, pretentious, maybe. right?
Of course. Well, you just need to know that it's going to happen. You need to know beyond anything that it will happen. You just don't need to know how. A lot of people think they know how, but they don't know if it will.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do, and that's why most people don't get what they are after.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taught to us that way. But the
Yeah.
real way is just know you're gonna do it, and then just work.
Yeah.
And follow that.
I think with you is like a special case, or not a special case, but a special case, not in like a disrespectful way, but like you had backgrounds and skills that like you're able to like have that belief because you have those skills, but like for me, I know a lot of people that like they believe in the manifestation, but at the same time they have like a lot of lacking areas in their like skill sets, and like they want to believe in themselves, but at the end of the day it's like it's not going to do anything if you don't have like the skills to push something out, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, the first step is to use the manifestation to get the skills.
Yeah.
Like your entire goal can just be like, I want to become really good at graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do that, then you can say, I want to change people's lives with graphic design, or I want to change the world with graphic design, or I want to innovate everything, and then I want to grab this new skill, and this, so it builds on itself.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nobody that can't start where you are.
Yeah. So Max,
Yeah, what's up?
how does like, do you believe in manifestation?
I mean, yeah, obviously. I mean, sometimes just like chilling, just telling yourself like, I'm gonna do this. It just happens. Like, even just getting this interview set up. I was like, all right, I did figure out to like get this done, no matter what. And I just told myself, and we're here. So yeah, I think manifestation definitely works. So if you don't mind me asking, how did you get like connected with Billie Eilish?
So that's what I was saying, is like I was just sure that something like that was gonna happen, and I was visualizing for it every single day. Like I literally like a delusional person. Like I would just close my eyes and pretend like to see stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
And crazy notifications on my phone, like hype beast articles, all this stuff. Before I would pick up my phone, I would like take a few seconds to think about that and like see that, and then I would be like, I know the phone I'm about to pick up isn't real, and the one I just saw is.
Damn.
And I was doing that, and then I just all of a sudden get this idea to like start drawing some celebrities portraits, and I started with X, who was my biggest inspiration at that time, and then I did Billie because she was really big, and I came up with this strategy of sending it to fan pages like over and over and over and over. Every fan page I would just refresh, send it to every single one and say, if you post this, I'll give you a story shout out. And I would just copy and paste that message. It was a lot nicer and way better said than that. But
wait, how many followers did you have at that time?
200,
200,
if
wow.
that.
That's
And I just did that over and over to the point where my story was just dots because I was shouting out everybody. And but enough pages reposted it to where Billie must have seen it at that time, because if 25 pages posted or whatever, you're gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
And she must have just thought that it was organically being loved in her fan page, to where she her manager hit me up and was like, hey, we love the image, can we use it for merch? And I didn't really plan that, but it worked out. First, I just want to say, like, people need a way to bridge the gap, and my way was celebrity portraits.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find a way to get your art, which nobody cares about except maybe your close loved ones and relatives, and make the whole world care. You can't just expect them to. So you are gonna have to figure out a way to make everybody care.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those ways is getting something that they already care about and putting your spin on that as a bridge, as a transition to when you want to do your own thing. So that's about that.
When you were younger, like, were you always into fashion, and was that always like a thing for you? Like, I want to put on like this monochrome fit, or like, you know, were you always having like color palettes in your mind, or how did that kind of come about for your passion for fashion? Bars.
I'll say like, not always, definitely not, because I wasn't raised in an environment like that at all. I was from like South Florida, and it's not like a big fashion scene there. You know what I mean? It's like skinny jeans and like some like putridly colored fake designer as a top. And that was the good fashion. But, you know, starting at like 15, 16, I started to get really into it because I started looking at pop culture more at that time. And I started seeing like other creatives doing it, and I thought it was so cool. And I just loved the color combination. So like I have fit pics on my personal page from like when I was 16 years old of just like being in high school and just messing around. And, you know, it started as like a little thing. And then once I started making some t-shirts, then I was like, okay, this is cool. But now, you know, I've also taken like a ton of fashion classes in RISD and stuff. And I have a bunch of apparel major friends and sewists as friends and stuff like that. And all the clothing brand owners. And so now I'm really just much more interested in like cuts and dyes and washes and graphics and like everything about fashion. Like I'm so into it, and more so just the world that you can create by dressing a certain way.
That's really cool. So whenever like you obviously go to a school with a bunch of other creatives, and like I'm actually curious like what the other, like when you talk to the other clothing brand owners, or like when you see clothing brands, like what do you think separates a good clothing brand from a great clothing brand?
The designer.
The designer?
Yeah. It's just, where is your perspective and why does this need to happen? I don't think that enough people have the why as deeply solidified, or even, you know, what does it look like? Like, does it even have a very specific aesthetic to it? Can you isolate this piece and I can point at it and say, oh, this is this brand? A lot of, you know, these Instagram brands and stuff, they don't have that element yet. And I just think that in general, a lot of creatives, things move so fast now, and everything is TikTok and everything is Instagram and social media.
Fuck TikTok.
We love it all.
Yeah, no, I'm just playing.
But
I'm just playing.
I know.
I don't even have TikTok.
Really? Good for you,
That's
kid.
good.
Good for you, kid.
But I just deleted it. I felt like it was too, like, I would just sit there and just scroll. I was like, I could be doing better things with my time.
I don't ever
so
scroll.
Like, whatever, so I just deleted it.
Yeah.
That's good. A lot of people don't have that thought, or maybe they have the thought but they don't actually do it.
Yeah.
So that's good. Don't re-download it.
No.
Until you have a really, you know, a purpose for it.
Yeah.
It's you know, given a lot of my friends a career.
Yeah.
But you need to use it and not let it use you. And, you know, so what I'm saying is, like, with these fashion designers, don't get so caught up in the delivery and the platform you're using. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're always going to remember Plato's Atlantis from McQueen, whether we know what channel it was live streamed on or not. It's the art that's going to live forever. So I wish that, and I've said this for years, like, all designers would just take time aside from designing and just read, or just sit with themselves in a room and like breathe really deeply for like 50 minutes straight. Like, when's the last time you sat in a room for like 50 minutes, just no other distraction, and just sat with yourself and your own thoughts? I don't think a lot of designers like spend enough time alone to really feel out what they're putting out. You know what I mean? And it really shows. It's like, you can't fool anybody. I think that people are so smart and you can't trick anybody into thinking that you're not doing this for money or because it makes you look cool. At the end of the day, we're always going to know if this is a visionary or not.
Yeah.
Despite what you say about it or how you speak.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I definitely have problems, or not problems. I definitely like struggle with meditation, and like I kind of have this like thing inside of me that just like always kind of needs noise for some reason. Like even when I'm sleeping, I have like the pool just like kind of in the background as the ambience. Like, but for me, like I don't know, I just like grew up, or like even like 2 years ago, I was like so anti like spirituality, like meditation. It was like weird. I was like against it. I was like, this is bullshit. Like I can't do it. It's not for me. You know what I mean? But like I think like eventually like I should get into it just for my own like mental health. But like it's such a hard thing, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to like just like needing that noise, you know what I mean? Like the silence is what's like difficult for me, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, but we need to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
I think that everybody is spending too much time doing what's put in front of them. It's so easy to open a app and scroll. It's designed to be easy. It's designed to give you a hit.
Yeah.
But we need to do hard stuff again to see how strong we are. Because if not, how are you going to know?
Yeah.
And then once you know, you won't feel comfortable going back, and you won't feel comfortable not going after the total greatest potential possible.
Yeah. So to go back to like the clothing brand talk, what do you like think about what are your thoughts on like garments, and like what do you prefer in like a brand, like the more heavier fit or like the collar, like tight collar? Like what do you think is more in fashion now, or what's like your taste in terms of garments and like feels?
Nothing too specific, just honestly stuff that's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even that I disagree with. Like, it's cool to just do something that's only going to be funny this month or whatever. And then a year from now, we won't even get it. It's all fine. Do whatever you want, but just, you know, make it good.
Yeah.
Like, care about it. Put some effort into it.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of seam it is. Me personally, like, I like usually seamless stuff, or like very thick and washed and looking like it's 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years from now. Like, I love that kind of stuff, and that makes you feel like a superhero when you wear it. And
Hell yeah.
you know, all these different things. I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
for everybody else's case, just you need to find that about yourself and make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. And not like go based on like what is necessarily the right move, or just like go based on your own taste and your own reference points. And
Well, yeah, like,
that jacket is sick though, I'm not gonna lie.
thank you. We customized this one, me and an apparel friend, Leo.
It's fire.
Shout out to Leo Bays. It has like this cool back on it too.
Yeah, that's sick.
As
As soon as you walked in, I noticed it.
Thank you. But you know, that's what I'm talking about, is just like sit with your friends and work on a jacket.
Yeah.
And you don't have to show anybody it. Like, you can just do it and just like put the time in the background, and you know, be aware of what you're putting out. You know, like, who's the smartest person in this room? It's you, and it's me, and it's you.
Yeah.
For each of our own lives. Nobody else can tell us, oh, you should do this trend, or this is the coolest thing to do in clothing, or this and that. Like, you shouldn't even, your ears should be too pure to even be able to hear somebody that would tell you something like that.
Yeah.
We know what's best because it's our vision to make the greatest thing. And there's value in making something that's completely uncool or unpopular popular, and there's value in making something popular even better. So there's no wrong answers. And I understand that that can be daunting, but at the end of the day, you just need to, like I said, sit with yourself in a way that you can be honest and not distracted, and you have all the answers you need.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask one more question to Max before we do the interlude. So, would you call yourself a consumer?
What do you mean by that?
Like, in terms of like, if you see a cool, like, you buy, like, obviously you have the Lyrical Lemonade hoodie on, like, you're gonna buy like cool shit if you see it online, right?
I mean, yeah, obviously, if I see something, then yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yeah.
So what do you think, like, for you is like the separator between like a purchase and then just kind of like a click away, like, or even like a maybe even go to their website and like view the prices, like.
Well, I would say well, it's a hard question. Just my likings, to be honest. If I see something, I'm like, oh, that's sick, or something I really like, and then sure, go for it. It's not really more of a, I don't really, like, sometimes obviously like the trends or whatever people are wearing, but I would more rather just whatever I want. I don't really be caring much about the trends.
Yeah.
I dress however I want, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I would say I live like 2 hours from here. Like, legit, everyone just be wearing shorts and like a shirt, and I don't know, I just like seeing that's kind of lame. They all be looking like copied and pasted. Everyone's just wearing the same thing. So, you know, I just try to be different from them.
So we got this little 14-year-old kid. He came with his mother today.
Yeah.
My boy Max. You know, why are you here, bro? Like, what's your purpose in life?
Well,
If that's the question.
Well, it's a hard question, obviously, to like explain. Well, I kind of helped set this up.
You set this up.
Yeah.
You set this up.
It was pretty last minute, to be honest. Sam over here, he posted on his story that he was gonna be in Austin, and I was actually in Mexico when he posted that. But I knew we were gonna come to Austin, or around Austin at this time, so I messaged him, you know, because we've talked before, Sam's ago, and I was like, let's do something. And, you know, we did it to get mics and cams, and I know some creatives, but most of them are like in LA. My boy Tyler's in Montreal. Like, I know them, but none of them in Austin.
Yeah.
And I'm not really connected with anyone in Austin, which is crazy because I'm gonna move here next year. So the only person that I do know in Austin is my friend's cousin, and he does like VFX.
Simon
Shout out
Visuals.
Simon, yeah. And
Cool dude.
literally last minute I hit him up. I was like, yo, do you have a camera and some mics that you can help us? He's like, nah, but my homie does. And he sent me your ad, and well, I hit you up, and we got it set up, you know?
Yeah, that's fire, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, I think we talk so much about how this is all for the youth and like we want to uplift and inspire and all this kind of stuff. But I've noticed that when people talk about me and I'm not in a room or what I want, they're usually wrong. So I wanted to bring Max here so we can actually have this conversation, because in ID is like, industrial design is a very egoless industry. That's not to say all the people in it are like that, but it's very much based on going out and finding data, not being a high horse designer. You find the solution. You don't come up with something. You go and interview people and you say, what's wrong with this train station? How do we make this better? And then you make a braille rail or whatever it is, something to make it better. You fix the font on the screen. And so there's no need for us to hypothesize. Like, we have the people right here that we need to be talking to fix whatever is wrong, if there is anything, which is like we can hopefully talk about and find out. I think I'm going to do like another interview just with Max to just have a conversation and figure out like what can we help with.
The youth.
Yeah.
No, that's really good point. I've never heard it like that. We don't need to hypothesize. We have the answers. We have the people that we can get the information from, that's a really, really cool point, and I think that's a good takeaway. What do you think about like just gatekeeping in general, or like in terms of like you know, for me, I started off my brand, and like a year ago, if me now and me a year ago were two separate people, I would have given that person like all this information, like, hey bro, like this is gonna save you some time, like do this, do that, do this. Like, what do you think about like, you know, gatekeeping, or like in terms of like sharing information and like when you should and when you should hold back?
You only should, in quotes, if it's going to do more harm than good. Like, an example is like, if you're making if you're going to post publicly, here's the manufacturer that you can get started with, and here's their direct contact. Yeah, you're not gatekeeping, but now everybody who uses that manufacturer is going to have way slower times because they're going to have 100 people message them and try to work with them, and they're all going to have to go and find new manufacturers. So it's like, it's way better to, it's not just about gatekeeping or not, but how do we lower the boundaries of entrance in general the best way? So it's like, what if we teach people exactly how to find a designer or find a manufacturer? Like Siegs has a pack that teaches that. And if we can just get the information and the knowledge out there of what to do, that's the most valuable way to allow everybody to come into this industry.
Yeah, rather than it just being like, here's this phone number, 'cause
yeah, exactly. It's like fish versus teaching the fish.
Yeah, and I've noticed that with brands, because I have a lot of friends that own brands, and like one of my friends, Angel Within, he uses manufacturers, but like I've never asked him like directly like, who's your manufacturer, because I know like it's not really how it works. Like you got to kind of find your own, or like get samples and find the one that you can work with and trust, and like it's really not that easy. But that's a really good point. So like rather than giving direct information, you kind of have to like lead them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you said the key word right there, lead. Like we all need a lot more leaders right now, and you're gonna bring that up, onto yourself. That's not gonna happen. You're not gonna wake up one day and realize you're a leader. Our leaders and our heroes are falling on their sword or being slain. And, we got V and VV and X and Take and Juice and Ski and Keed and Mac, and everybody's out. And so we're going to need some leaders to come and replace these heroes because the culture needs that. Wow. And we need to be taking it serious.
I agree.
Because,
shit's getting scary out there, bro.
Well, we're such bright lights. Like, everybody has such a bright light inside. And the worst thing you can do is just put a shade over a lamp. You know what I mean? Like, just let yourself be the maximum version, and don't get caught up or held back by fear, by other people's opinions of you. Or, there's a million reasons not to do it, but I like to say, don't find an excuse, find a way.
Yeah. So I have this theory about ideas that it's kind of an ignorant idea or theory, but it's also like, I think it's like it could help out creatives. Like I feel like every time you share like a raw idea to somebody, it gets diluted like by like 10 or 15%. Anytime someone like hears it and gives you feedback, in the early stages at least, you know what I mean? But like, what do you think about like sharing your ideas to other people, and like who you can really get the feedback from, and who you should just tune it out or not even ask about their opinion? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's so much semantics. Like, semantics are thorn bushes. And all that means is just stuff that doesn't actually matter. And I think that the thorn bush is a lot bigger than people realize. Like, your thoughts don't matter a lot of the times. Your feelings don't matter a lot of the times. At the end of the day, ask whoever you want for feedback, but do the thing. Like, that's it. You'll get feedback from doing it and seeing how much you like it, and then, iterating on that. But, I also feel like we should be getting as much feedback from as much people as possible. You're never going to get feedback that doesn't help, even if it's somebody that completely doesn't understand. The best person to ask for feedback is like your mom, or like somebody who's completely unbiased and out of the situation, and say like, well, what do you think of this printer? And they'll be like, oh, that looks like this camera or something like that. Whereas if you ask someone in design, they'll give you a design reference, and it's like, that's not realistic if we're trying to touch culture and the whole world. So I say, ask people who will be honest with you. Stay away from yes men. I can't even believe I have to say that,
Mhm.
but there's so many people when I talk to on Instagram and I tell them their designs suck and that you need to be better, and I give them advice like here's how to get better, that are like, bro, thank you so much for being honest. Like everybody's just been telling me it's so good.
Mm.
And at a certain point that's your fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have eyes. Like have eyeballs. You can see that design is not as good as
Another design.
Louis, as Balenci, as whatever. So like, you know what I mean? Just you should know when people are yes manning you and not, and you should stay away from that and get with the people that are gonna tell you it sucks if it sucks.
Yeah, I might need a
hard pill to swallow.
I might need to get some of them pills after this.
Yeah,
because I do have some designs that I want to show you after. But
let's do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is like staying away from yes men. Compare, like, what do you think about like comparison? Like, I know the old quote, comparison is the thief of joy, but like, when you're creating, it's kind of like sometimes you have to compare to see like where you stand and like how you can get better and like, you know.
I think it's just with anything, just be smart about it.
Yeah.
Compare intelligently. If you're comparing against
lifestyle,
the next Joe Schmo Instagram designer, then you're only ever gonna live in that person's shadow, or at the highest level, you'll just reach them.
Yeah.
But if you're comparing with the greatest designs that have ever been done, whenever I'm making a beat, like I'm going back and forth from my beat to like the blueprint to like all different, you know, things from the Beatles and everything, because I need it to be at that level. And the same thing for fashion design. You know, have a reference folder of the things that you think are the greatest in the world, and then you can compare to that. But that's it. And do it in a way that's not going to make you sad. It should make you inspired, and then you should just reach that level. Thing with artists, they're so emotional, you know?
Yeah.
They get caught up so much in their feelings and, you know, all of these different things. You just need to focus and actually make the thing happen.
Yeah.
Discipline beats motivation every time. And, you know, intelligence is going to get you a lot farther when you're doing things and thinking through the process. So, you know, I say compare, but compare to the greatest ever.
Yeah. I always like hear this in terms, because I'm a filmmaker, and like they always when they tell you to first start off, this like I know Martin Scorsese says like to just copy, like emulate, and then eventually like you're gonna like create your own style through that emulation, you know. And like even like writers, like I know I can't remember who it was exactly, but like they would just like write word for word like another famous like poet or author, and like just like transcribe exactly what they wrote just to get the feel and like the, I don't know what it is. It's just like, I guess through the emulation you can almost create your own style in a sense. Like it's kind of how I look at it.
I totally agree. I mean, all my first drawings look exactly like Cause, and all my first bars sound exactly like Kanye.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be like that. And my first clothes look like, you know, whoever else. But it always starts somewhere. You just need to start. That's my whole thing, is like, just do something. I get so many messages that's like, oh, I was thinking about this and that. And I'm like, bro, stop thinking.
Yeah.
Just do the thing.
Yeah.
And then think about it for a second later. Come up with a plan, and then do something else. Do the next thing.
Yeah.
That's it. We overthink so much. It's not necessary.
Definitely.
You could cut 90% of the fat out by just doing that and finding out yourself and not being afraid. People are paralyzed by fear.
Paralyzed, definitely. Max, you have any questions?
Oh, not really.
Sure. No, I was gonna say like, yeah, to your point, like I know people that have ideas that like last like a whole year of just sitting on that idea, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're really like about that creative life, like it should just be output and then like start over. Output, start, like I feel like that's the only way you're really gonna know if something's gonna work. Like you gotta like take the L's, and you gotta like, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna ask like a 1,000 people for their opinions, like is this a good idea or not? Like how are you gonna know until you really just do it? You know what I mean? Like how you know your brand is gonna work, or how you know a brand name is good enough until you actually flesh it out and see like what the ceilings are and what the ceiling is, and like, you know what I mean? Like in that sense.
Yeah, I think that the cycle is education, execution. Should make a graphic. Education, execution. And so just do those things both at the same time, at the same level, and you will become great. It's very easy, actually. It's actually easier to become great than good, because all you have to do is kind of just go all in. And what you can do is just, while you're making a design, listen to a podcast about business or about like mindset or meditation or whatever, and then, you know, make the product and then show it to a bunch of people, get a bunch of feedback, again, education, and then sit down and put that into a plan and make something else while you're listening to something else about this, or like, you know what I mean, read a book about this and that, and just keep going back and forth, gathering references, reading books, listening to interviews, shows, whatever media is going to inspire you, and then creating, putting things together, experimenting, putting things out into the world. And that's it. It's really so easy.
Yeah.
And then just keep doing it over and over and over, without ego, without emotion, mentally there, not emotionally. And, you know, that's really it. And or I should also say, like, you know, have emotion in the actual artwork that you make and what you do, but don't let it handicap you. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I think yeah, like, because when do you think, oh yeah, here's my question. So, when do you think an idea should be abandoned? Or like one of your when you should kill one of your babies or whatever, you know, that old saying.
Just when it has to be. I don't know. It's just case by case, but just do whatever is the most important ideas to you, and eventually, you know, some aren't gonna make it.
Yeah. But
just do as much as you can with, you know, your hierarchy of what you think is the most important. I think it'll happen naturally.
Yeah. What do you think, bro?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Just keep thinking of ideas. Some will make it, some won't. But the whole point is, if you just come up with one idea, like, there's like a very small percentage that it's gonna work. So just keep making ideas till one hits. You know. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You're not just gonna go big with one idea. Like, maybe you can, but it's like it's more of a luck thing, I would say.
Yeah.
Getting like started with one idea.
Or that one idea can stem off and make a bunch of different ideas.
Then, if you push that idea enough and you keep going at that one idea and expand it, you never know, it could grow.
Yeah.
Just don't give up.
I agree with that too. I think that there's a certain element of quantity. I don't want to say over quality, but at the end of the day, if you make 100 clothing designs and then you execute 10 of them, they'll probably come out way better if you just start trying to execute 5 perfect ones. And same thing for beats, same thing for everything. So
yeah. That's a good point. I definitely for the New Year's, I want to like triple the amount of output I put out in terms of like my videos, you know. But then I'm also like, I've taken like some fat L's in terms of clothing drops, and like
good.
I know, like, when I look back at it, I'm like, why did I rush it? You know what I mean? Like, or like, why did I try to do a Christmas design in November? You know what I mean? Like, it's too late for that. Next time I'm gonna start that. If I want to do something holiday themed, I gotta start like 3 months or 4 months before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that sort of thing is like, it's a good experience, and it teaches me a lot. But it also, like, it's painful. You know?
Yeah.
It's very painful.
Well, yeah, and props to you, because a lot of people won't even put themselves in a position where they can fail.
Yeah.
And all of my friends, all the most successful, everything, they failed the most. And all it takes is not being afraid to fail over and over and over to the point where you understand, and then it's successful, and then that's when everybody is like, you're natural.
Yeah.
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 Like, I feel like a lot of people, I would say, like, not just clothing, but in general, they'll put out, I don't know, let's say, their first clothing drop, and it probably doesn't do too good.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, this isn't my thing, oh, it didn't work. But they don't realize that if they keep learning, you know, Photoshop, they keep learning, getting more ideas, eventually, if they keep going at it, one of them will grow. You know, you just have to have, you know, the right connections, the right mindset, and just keep going at it. That's why this year I was just trying to grow as many connections as I can, because I know, like, as I get older, that's what everything's gonna be, connections.
Yeah.
Like, that connection got us here today, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true as fuck. I think I've seen clothing brands like have like really like mid designs, but the owner is like a hometown like just like celebrity in a sense, so everyone buys their designs, but the feedback, it's like it feels good, but like it might not be like the best for the artist or the art.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that too is like I think to an extent, a designer, to an extent, is only as good as they are a human. Like some people are just so loved and so appreciated that they can get away with putting out stuff that isn't as crazy, and it's appreciated because it's them.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many artists that we can name, like, let's say like the Cardi merch that was just like impact text on shirt. Like if some random person would have just put that out, they would have been like, this is trash. But Cardi put it out, so I think it's fire. I actually really do think that it was like a really great merchandise that actually ended up becoming one of the biggest trends of the year. And we're filming this on the 31st, so I think it's nice we can kind of look back on this year and moving forward into 2023. But, my point is like same thing with, the Yeezy shades, right? He had like every celebrity in the world have those shades on. Everybody saw those.
Yeah.
I don't even know if those actually ended up dropping. It's all a bit, here or there. But if he would have dropped them before everything else happened, they would have sold out the factory. If anybody else would have dropped them, if like your friend would have dropped them, they would have sold 5.
Yeah.
They're not crazy shades. They're cool.
Yeah.
But they're crazy because of the context behind it
In the moment.
and who he is and who everybody else is that wore it and all the legends that were in it, et cetera, et cetera. So another one of my best advice that I could give to designers is like become a sick person and like love yourself as a person and get to a point where you think that you're really sick as a person, and everything else will become easier too. Like get to a point where you're happy with your health, your mental health, and your actual behavior, and that will go a much longer way in having you become like a respected designer, and also life's just better like that, like
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So for me, me personally, I think I could probably use that advice as well, like, and just like kind of work on myself, and like in 2023 I want to like be able to, if I do a pop-up or if I host an event or something, like I can be that person that people want to like, or like attract that sort of energy of like positivity, creativity, and like all those like positive energies in the world, because that's like ultimately what our goal is, right? Like just to spread the love and spread the positivity, and like you can't really do that if you hate yourself, like, or maybe you can, like, I don't know, like, cause
not so much. I mean, you can make people feel less alone, but no, not really. You can't really do too much good if you hate who you are, because you're not going to see yourself as capable of good.
Because then you're gonna be like, make a design, you'll be like, oh, well, this sucks. Just because like you don't agree with yourself. But you never know, maybe the people like it.
I guess that's also like a talk of like separating the artist and the art in a way. Like, cause I mean, there's a lot of like depressed people that are making like sick shit, and like the sick shit they're making might be like super positive and dope, or even if it's like darker and like it speaks to other people, like at the same time, like when they're just dealing with themselves, it's like it's a lot tougher, you know what I mean? Like,
well, there's a lot more artists that hate themselves that are making whack shit than sick shit.
Yeah.
We just see the sick shit.
No, that's very true, probably.
And it tends to be sick because it's a way of catharsis for those people. Speaking from experience, it's a way of improvement.
Yeah.
Rather than destruction.
Yeah. That
typically.
makes sense. And so when they're making the art, that's essentially healing, and that is the loving part.
And that's what, that's how it has that effect on other people, like X.
Yeah.
Or Juice, or whoever you want to name.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of your podcasts, and like I saw you mention like, cause like your McDonald's concept, like the one with the Yay concept, you mentioned like how we need to hold corporations accountable because like all their eyes are on them, and like, you know, it's important for them to be as artistically like profound as like just individuals because like they have the eyes on them as well, you know what I mean? So like, what do you think about, you know, designing for bigger brands, or even like working with like non-conventional things like McDonald's collabs, or like, you know, I don't know, fucking Tyson turkey or some shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, is that what interests you, is like finding those like or like going to those big corporations and like designing their boxes for like how they store their turkey on the shelves or some shit? Like, I don't know, it's like really random, but
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I just think that we all need to hold each other accountable as brothers and sisters. Like, I see everybody as a family member because I have love for everyone, and I see the potential in everybody and everything and every brand and every corporation, whatever it is, of being the best possible thing that they could be with the leverage and the resources that they have. And so, you know, my point was just, you know, if you're going to have that much money and that much
impressions and
like, yeah, capability, then why not get the best artists and make the best stuff? But, you know, some brands just, you know, Tyson turkey doesn't need like a great, crazy marketing, you know, campaign run for them. And when they do, I'm sure that they will make it happen.
yeah,
You know, I'm sure they'll find the money to make something like that happen. So, you know, I would do it. If Tyson's listening, they want to reach out, I'll design some turkey boxes, or like McDonald's Happy Meal. I can make it cool. But, you know, it doesn't need me. McDonald's has a great brand. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm really more so interested in like the things that are offensive or are taking away from Earth, healing those things, or like making something new that can make it better.
yeah, like public trash cans.
What about public trash cans?
I'm so random. Like, okay, let's think about something in real life that could be improved. Like, I don't know, sometimes those public trash cans be filled to the brim, and like, maybe you think those, like, the way that we have the trash can set up in public, like, is that like a pretty solid for the next like 20 years, 30 years? Or you think we're gonna like evolve from like the traditional like just bins like laying around? Or you think it's gonna be like fucking huge ass like compost like dumpsters just everywhere, like throw your trash here, and then like fucking crushes it immediately or some shit?
I don't know. Hopefully we could invent something that like converts it down to a particle level, like, you know, and recycles it into something we could reuse or something like that. Like, that's where I would more so see something like that happening. The bins are fine for now. I haven't experienced any issues with it. I do have a lot of issues with a lot of products now that I've been at this, you know, industrial design program for so long, and like had to redesign so much stuff. Like, you know, we came up with new designs for a humidifier, like to make it much easier to clean. All this stuff, like, you can't make a humidifier not have mold, but you can make it much easier to clean the mold.
Yeah.
And with all these different things, are like, you know, my sister has this fridge in her house that I've had to keep using, that is like this new cool fridge that's touchscreen. But for what reason? The buttons are tactile. They're nice. They feel nice to your finger, and they work. When I press the button on the touchscreen, I have to press it 3 times to distribute the ice.
Fuck no, that's not efficient.
You failed.
Exactly.
Who makes refrigerators? What's the company? Does anybody
Hilton,
know?
or
Whoever it is, you failed. And you should start over.
Yeah, bro.
Because you can't have stuff that doesn't work. If it doesn't work, don't release it.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
And don't try to make things new and improved for no reason. Everything should have a reason to it.
So you go to school at RISD, right? That's in New York. It's an art school.
Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island?
It's
Nice.
Rhode Island School of Design.
That's cool as fuck. Okay. And what do you think about art schools in general?
Well, it's an interesting topic. I think that, you know, a lot of people in my space, like I was saying, like, they don't go to art school. I know almost nobody in the space that does or did go to art school. It's like very rare. And most of the people that do go to art school are actually not interested in that space. They're more so interested in like stable jobs, stable, you know, working at an agency or doing design for like a bigger company or stuff like that. You know, a lot of people from RISD go on to work at like Google or Apple or, you know, just more low key firms and stuff like that. I've had like 1 or 2 people in RISD ever, like maybe a little bit more, like come to me and ask for advice or like ask me to help them in whatever, because they just, and I didn't know this, like they don't care. A lot of these art students, like they're going for something more stable. They're not trying to become the greatest artists of all time. Almost none of them. And art school is very interesting. And a lot of people ask me about it. And my thoughts on it are is like, at the end of the day, you're going to know if it's going to make sense for you or not. Based on the price, are you going to get out of it what you're putting in? And then when you're there, how hard are you going to work? Because if you work like a demon day after day in art school, you're going to become a monster. Because you have professors that have been doing this for 40 years and you're surrounded by geniuses in most good art schools. I'm talking about like a random art school. Good ones. Which if it's not a really good one, probably just don't go. All right, you got YouTube, you got a sketchbook, learn it yourself. You can learn all of this stuff yourself, but it's going to take longer because there's stuff you don't know. So my thing is, you know, if you can, I think that you should. And if it's convenient for you and you have a really good school in front of you, why would you not go to a place where you're going to be around 2,500 genius art students, you know what I mean? And also professors that have been doing this their whole life and a career center that can connect you with whatever company you want to get to. If you really, really, really work like a demon every day to make the most out of all of those connections, you'd have to be pretty dull not to become a monster at that pretty fast, you know? So that's my thoughts on it. Can you do it without art school? It's not even a question. Of course you can. You don't need anything. You could do it if I broke both of your hands. But if you have art school, it can help. And there's benefits of not doing it in art school. I have most of my friends that just like taught everything, and at a lot of stuff they're better than me at it now because they've honed in on something. Whereas I'm learning CAD. I've taught myself, or, you know, I've learned from the school CAD, how to sew, fashion history, how to metalwork, how to woodwork, product design, product development, rendering, design principles. I'm like getting lightheaded. There's just like such a long list of different things that they give you introductions to that you can learn on. And then when you're out of school, you can really hone in on everything. But I would say I think we should take away the stigma from it. And how about just let's stop having stigmas? Because it's like, is that really helpful? Everything is pretty case by case. So, you know, you're going to know if you're going to have to pay $90,000 a year out of your pocket, it would have to be a really, really, really good school for it to be worth it. And just be smart, because I'll tell you right now, if it's going to cost that much, there's like 5 people in the United States that's going to be worth it for.
So for you, art school has been like very helpful, and you've been able to learn from your peers as well as your professors, right?
It's been life-changing because like all of these assignments I never would have made myself do, and RISD's a really special and interesting case because it's like structured, I don't want to say like a prison, but it's so...
You live on campus?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like they take a lot from the Bauhaus, and one of the things they take is this idea of torture the artist, which is like an artist is going to make the best work when they're the most at war with themselves and under the most pressure and under the most stress and upset. And so the first year they basically torture you legally. And so, like, one of our assignments was to draw like 400 rocks and go outside. You had to be outside because you needed to get natural lighting, and you are not allowed to take pictures, and during winter. So you got to sit outside and draw on an 18 by 24, 400 rocks, one rock per page.
Damn.
So you're just over and over just drawing them until like it just becomes muscle memory. And then, you know, all sorts of different things. We would have 8-hour studios from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. where we're just figure drawing with no sound, no music. The teacher wouldn't let you play your own music. They wouldn't let you speak.
Wow.
You're just in a room with 10 other artists in this beautifully lit room drawing some naked figure, and you just things happen to your mind that can't be undone. It's like they're breaking you. And Rizzi has broken me. I'm broken. And now I can just... You want me to do your merch? Like, I could do your merch in my sleep with my hands behind my head. Like, I had to draw 400 rocks in the cold. Before, I'm coming from Florida, and I don't even know how to dress for the cold, so I'm really feeling it. And, you know, so that's just one example. They'll have, like, design your own universe by Friday and make an installation for it and an animation for it.
Fuck.
Oh, and you have 4 other classes, and you don't know how to animate, and we're not going to teach you.
Wait, like cell animation or like what kind of animation?
Any kind of an actual animation, a full animation that tells the story of your universe. Wow. And an installation, too. So, like, come up with some kind of a sculpture or something that... Some kind of performance art that people can do. So it's like all these ridiculous prompts that you have no choice other than to pull multiple all-nighters in a row to be able to complete. We did a 7-foot light-up dragon made out of paper patterns that we sculpted in CAD that we just like learned in a day. And we had to make within like 2 weeks. And we pulled 2 all-nighters in a row. And we're putting it together in the studio at 7 a.m. right before the class started. No sleep that night. We were just in 7 a.m. and putting together this dragon, figuring out, and the neck wouldn't stand, so we had to like put in chicken wire on the inside. So it's like I've touched all of these different aspects of art. I've had architecture classes and fashion and graphic design and logos and all that kind of stuff, to where hand me anything. And I just learned to produce. So I just taught myself to produce. Most people would be like, oh, like producing is so hard. It's like, okay, it's all hard. If you want to be really good at it, it doesn't matter. You just learn to just do it. And so now it's like I'm getting closer to the point at 21 years old where I can start to put into the world what I see in my head. But it takes so much getting the roots deeper into the ground before the tree can reach into the sky. And so yeah, it's helped me a lot. It changed my life. It taught me what work means. It taught me so many hardships and brought me so much pain that everything is so easy in comparison. That's the best way I could describe it.
That sounds really fucking badass. Like that is like the type of environment that I want. Like that sounds like, because you can only put yourself through so much torture. Like
exactly, you'll let the reins off of yourself. But when you're paying for it, and if you get an F, you have to retake the class. You have no choice.
That's some pretty good. Like,
and no one will hear your complaints too. I was in a metal class, and I have no background in ID, zero. Most of these kids are coming from, their parents are in tech. And they're making Oculuses and all this stuff. I have zero. I come from, my mom's a teacher, my dad's a locksmith. And I'm in this metal class, and my stuff sucks compared to all the other kids. We're on week 2. And my stuff sucks, and the teacher comes to me, and he's like, sends me this email about how if I don't step my game up and make better stuff and start getting on the same level as the other kids, I'm going to fail the class. And it wasn't like terrible. It just wasn't as great as these genius kids. And I'm like, so I sent him back something, and I was like, I understand that, but like you gotta understand, I don't come from the same place as these people. Like it's different backgrounds. There's a different story, and he basically was just like, tough. You're gonna get an F, and so I'm just sitting here like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to find better than your best, and you just find it from somewhere, and you make it happen. I ended that class with an A. So you just find out
It's pretty bad.
when there's no other option.
Yeah.
Does your school offer like film as well, or is it just like mainly visual, like illustration and like design and shit like that?
Illustration, graphic design, fashion or apparel, sculpture, painting, digital art, all that kind of stuff. There's a few more, but industrial design,
So,
architecture.
Like not everyone from your alumni is gonna become their own like CEO, right? Like a lot of them are just like you said earlier.
Almost none.
Really?
They don't want to. I don't blame them.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think the stigma with art school is like it also comes from like the YouTube university thing, and like even like for me like the film school is like a little bit different than art school, because like there's a lot of like scammy film schools out there, you know what I mean, like like shitty equipment and shit like that. But like your school sounds like it's a real institution that like produces some high quality artists, you know.
Yeah.
So like that is definitely like something to look into if you're thinking about going to school, because like I mean the traditional like business school is like it's kind of becoming outdated in a way. Like you can learn business through that, but like just depending on where you're at, like it's mostly like for people that just want to party and like have fun in college. But like I want to like college for me, just like I want to learn as much as I can, you know.
Yeah.
And that seems really cool that they're pressuring you that hard, and like obviously it sounds stressful, but I know
it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's like people don't make it out alive. Like some people, I'm not even being like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, or they, it's like countless hours in therapy. Like we have like an anonymous channel that people can upload questions, and it's just like all of them are, they sound nuts.
Fuck.
Like, so, there's a price to pay, but if you can be strong enough and make it through, you're going to come out warrior.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking badass. And I'm sure they have connections within the industry and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like pretty much, I feel like a RISD kid could get whatever job they wanted
Yeah.
in the world of
That's
art
badass.
completely.
So, you talked about before we started the podcast. You mentioned, I even mentioned it earlier, but you've obviously worked with some big names, and one of the most notable recently, right? Is, he might have inspired the jacket a little bit, maybe. Fucking Kanye West, right? Yay, formerly known as Kanye West. Like, how's that? Like, how did that come about? And like, what was the collab? Because like I tried looking into it last night. Like I saw you mention it, but like I couldn't really find out like what exactly it was.
Yeah, I haven't talked about it yet at all.
I'd love to get into it with you.
I mean, what is it? What is it not? It's like everything is everything with Ye. And it'll start out as one thing, the next day it's something completely different, the next day it's something completely different. That's
Gemini.
it's a whole universe, right? It's like everything all at once. And it was the most educational experience of my life, and that's including RISD and all the stuff that we just talked about, but easily the most I've ever learned about being a creative and what that looks like at the top level. Because like, let's put everything aside for a second.
Yeah, we know the elephant in the room. We're not talking about it, but
he's the greatest artist alive.
Yeah.
Or like he's up there.
Yeah.
Like really up there.
Yeah.
So like getting to see that and sitting in rooms and having conversations and like being there firsthand and feeling the energy, it's like now I've tasted it. Now I know what that's like. And it taught me a lot of what not to do and what to do at the same time. But I barely said any words to Ye. He said a lot to me. And I've just sat back and listened and taken notes on everything, because he's given me some of the most creatively intelligent feedback I've ever given. And the fastest. Like, he automatically knows exactly what he wants and how it's going to get done. Which makes sense. He's got, like, 20 years in the game, if not more, compared to our, like, 2, 3, 1, 0.
Yeah.
Whatever, like. So, yeah, it was amazing.
Are you allowed to talk about, like, what specifically you were working on or what you showed him and he gave you feedback on?
I mean, yeah, like, it was just all sorts of different stuff. There's music videos and...
You make music videos?
I can do anything.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
The first thing he hit me up for was the storyboard. Because he saw all of the pieces that I put online in August... What was it? 2021? I want to say August 2021, I did a 30-day run of posting a piece every single day. By the end of it, I had 10,000 more followers, and each one of the posts went somewhat viral within their own community. And so one of those, you know, a lot of them were Kanye-based because he was doing the Donda rollout and all this stuff, and it was like on everybody's mind at the time. And so he saw it, reached out to me. He was like, I like the way that you're able to organize things and put things together. Like, he really loved the all black Donda piece that was like everything at once.
Yeah. We'll pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, show it up there.
Yeah.
And he really liked the emojis.
Word.
So he was like, you know, I like where your head's at with that, which to me was like the ultimate validation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is my biggest... Remember, guys, we're talking about 2021.
Yeah.
But still, like, my biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ever. Nobody comes close. Virgil's in second.
Yeah.
Then, you know, we're on the phone, and I was doing everything I could to try to get in touch with him through, like, third-hand, fifth-hand people that knew a guy who knew a guy. And then he just reached out to me, which is kind of another lesson in itself. It's like, it's going to happen if it needs to. And, you know, then I do, like, a small thing for him. I don't want to, like, say specifically everything, you know, just in case. But, like, I did something for him that he wanted to see. Oh, yeah, what I was saying is he reached out to me to storyboard. And I was like, what? I've never even done storyboarding. You don't say that.
Yeah. No.
Okay? Just do whatever's handed to you. Find a way and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I did a storyboard for this whole big idea that he had. I sent it to him. I sent it to his manager. They were messing with it heavy. And they were like, can you be in New York? So then they flew me out to New York or trained me out. And we sat in a room together for like 3 hours and had like the craziest conversation of my life.
Just you, Ye, and like his people or what?
Just me, Ye, and Harry Hudson.
Who's that?
Singer.
Okay.
Sitting and having dinner in his hotel.
Wow. That must have been like just something. That must have been like a fucking... I don't even know how to describe that feeling. Like, how would you describe that feeling just being in that room?
There's certain things that are so important you can't even let yourself be nervous for. Because if you even get the tiniest bit of nerves, it's way too scary and you're just going to become a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
So I was in that Uber on the way to his hotel just talking to the Uber driver about fabrics in Pakistan, like whatever to get my mind off of it so I could just be there and be in the moment and handle it. I'm about to step into a room with my biggest inspiration of all time on an equal playing field.
Yeah. And this
You
is
know what I
after
mean?
you already storyboarded and he's seen the storyboard.
Yeah. So he was he liked all the stuff that I was giving him. And then, you know, it felt great. Like, it just felt like so right. Like, everything that I've prayed for or said I was going to do or tried and gone after, I've done it or it's about to happen.
Yeah.
And that was just another one of the big things that people told me was far in the distance that God had a different idea about. So we were sitting in that room and it's like all rumors are kind of laid to rest in that moment.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool, man. I think you definitely got a unique stance in the game. I think even if you didn't, like, obviously you're gonna keep pushing your online presence, but even if you didn't, like, I feel like you're like pretty, like, you could do some behind the scenes shit that, like, you know, could be very influential and like you're pretty like, you know.
Gotta get you on a TED Talk.
Yeah, facts.
They reached out,
Really?
but they denied me.
It'll come back, bro.
They reached out to me.
Wow.
They nominated me, and then I sent in my idea, which was to talk about basically similar to what we're talking about now. It's just like how to be a successful artist and person.
Oh, wow.
And they denied me. So I think that's funny, and that's why I wanted to say it here on this platform, because one day it's going to happen.
That's really cool. So they reached out, and essentially the thing is like they tell you to come back with like a concept for what you're going to talk about.
Well, they said I was nominated. Somebody nominated me for Brown TED Talk.
Well, TED Talk, if you see this,
It'll come back, bro. You're young.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's funny. You know, we'll be able to look back on this interview one day.
Yeah, but to reach out and then just deny is kind of crazy, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting like a girl hitting you up to hang out. She
Hopefully we all have a TED Talk.
Yeah. No,
of course.
Facts. I think. Yeah. What do you think about public speaking? Like, does it bother you at all? You get nervous like speaking to crowds?
I don't know that I've had that much experience with it. I mean, I've had a little bit. I've done like some pitch stuff. Like I was in like this entrepreneurship RISD program for a few days. It's like honestly a joke. Like it's for people that really have never stepped in the door, which is fine. It's like, you know,
it's cute.
I'm not gonna be disrespectful to say it's cute, because if you're just starting, I think it would be helpful. But
yeah,
it wasn't, you know, whatever. So I did a few pitch stuff like that, and it was fine. I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. I'll talk to whoever I gotta talk to. If it's $1 million, if it's 2,
no,
whatever.
I think that's one of my biggest things. Is like I want to be able to like. I don't even want to be able to talk in front of people, but I gotta be able to. You know, if I really want to like.
Yeah.
Get to that next level of just anything, you know. But that's really interesting, bro. I think that's one of the coolest stories I've heard in terms of like getting in contact and going to the fucking hotel room and like sitting down with Kanye and like.
There's a lot of stories.
What
Really?
you guys have for dinner?
So I'm working on this book called How to Eat Like a Creative Genius.
That's hilarious.
That's lit.
It's gonna be all about the patterns of eating and nutrition that I've seen with all of the most creative people that I've ever met, and the relationship between the two. Because I think that nutrition has a huge impact on our creativity and on our mental health. And so I want to write about that and like study what all the greatest artists have been eating, what they say about it, and then my thoughts on it, and like recipes. So like also like half cookbook, half philosophy.
That's actually lit.
I think that would be such a cool book.
I heard you mention on one of your videos that you're vegan, right? Are you still vegan?
No.
Not anymore?
I go back and forth. When I was 16, I was water fasting for 16 hours a day and eating only fruits and vegetables and oils and like, you know, I don't know why I was doing that. That's so weird, like looking back for like a 16-year-old to be doing that. But I was like floating. Like I had so much mental clarity and felt so healthy. I had so much energy and I felt so like spiritually uplifted and connected. Now in the past year, I've been like eating like 4,500 calories a day because I'm like more interested right now in like building muscle than being like spiritually third eye awakened.
Yeah.
But whenever it comes time, I'll get back on that timing and that'll be that. But I think that it has a humongous, huge effect.
I think that's true. I think that's like one of my vices is eating and like just chilling out on the eating. Because I know like if you wake up and you don't eat and you go straight to work, you're going to get a pretty good like day of productivity. Yeah. But if you wake up and the first thing you do is go eat, you're probably going to be like just a little bit, I don't know.
It just depends on what you're eating.
Yeah.
Mainly too. Fasting is cool. It has its own benefits, but it's mainly what you're eating that's going to affect it. I have a ton to say about it. Like I genuinely do want to write this book, but Kanye was eating rice pudding.
like a little small cup you remove, or is it like
a little cup.
Wow, that's badass. Dang.
That's pretty cool.
So
if that book comes out, I'm for sure reading that.
Yeah, bro. That's really interesting. Do you you obviously you watch movies and or like where do you like what kind of media do you take in like
I love movies and shows. I don't like books that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. I think I definitely want to like read more, but it's hard sometimes when you smoke a lot of weed. No, but this is actually a good segue. Like, what do you think about like marijuana and how? Like, do you have a lot of experience with like smoking, or is that because I don't think I get the vibe from you that you smoke too much, or like you're kind of like.
Nah, I don't too much. I think that there's a lot of vices in the world. I think that I don't know anybody personally who's not addicted to something.
Yeah.
Or not taking anything in that they shouldn't or whatever. I think there's a lot worse things to be doing.
Yeah.
I do think that there's negative and positive effects just like anything else. I think that it can make you comfortable with things you shouldn't be comfortable with. I think that it can give you an illusion that things are okay when they're not. But so can a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
That's true.
it's just about do whatever you want. Just be smart about it. And as long as you're getting done what you feel inclined to get done, I think you're good. And I would say maybe take some breaks every now and then just to reassess.
Yeah.
That's
so,
it.
Psychedelics.
Do what you want.
Let's talk about psychedelics.
Let's talk about it.
Do you have you had an experience with psychedelics?
I haven't.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's interesting. And do you look at it, or how do you view psychedelics and like the talk about it and kind of the infatuation with it in culture?
It seems cool. I like hearing about the stuff like that mushrooms have like 70% the same DNA as us or something like that. I don't know, whatever they say about that. And then like some people do mushrooms and like respect mushrooms as like gods and all this stuff. I don't get it because I've never done it, but it seems cool. It's recommended to me a whole lot.
Yeah, I would never recommend it to anybody. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, because like, I mean, like obviously overall it's probably a net positive, but like to recommend it to someone is like the most like, in my opinion, like a pretentious thing. Like you know what I mean? Like no one really, you can reach that higher level of thinking through just like we talked about earlier, you know, even water fasting or like just sitting with your own thoughts and stuff. But there's also just like people that have like predispositions to like breaking like some like mental illness through the shrooms, you know what I mean? So
I
like,
remember I saw like, it wasn't really an interview, it was more like it's kind of an interview. This dude, he would like do psychedelics and then he would draw what he would see.
Yeah.
And it was just like these really cool like art pieces that he would make, because it would just be like, I think Joe Rogan has said like once he saw like a bunch of clowns laughing at him, just making fun of him. And it was just like seeing the art he made or seeing these things, it just seemed like really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally would.
You're 14, okay? Relax.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, bro.
But I just thought everyone, because I mean, I know the people in the industry, like I would say the main thing everyone tells me, even if they do it, they're like, don't drink or smoke. That's like the top two.
Really?
Things. Yeah, everyone tells me that in the industry.
Well, yeah,
like,
you're young. They kind of have to like.
You know, yeah. But even then, they're just like.
It's good.
Like, don't get addicted to it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I ever will, to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the art that one dude I saw made it was pretty insane.
I feel like now that I've met you, I'm not gonna fail. Reeno's the bass god. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you coming on, bro. Like, if you have anything you want to promote before we wrap this up, or like anything you want to touch on, or message to the kids, or you know, this motherfucker right here is messing up. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like if you want to just wrap it up and talk about anything you want to say, or
I just want to say, anybody watching, train with me. What camera do I look into? That one?
let me see if this one's on. Yeah, this one is fucking on. That's direct.
Alright. Everybody watching, for the next year and a half, I'm letting you know in advance, train. Train with me. I'm going to be training. I've been training since 2020. 2024, we're coming for everything. So, train with me, or I don't really know what's going to happen. Because isn't Naruto more fun in the later seasons when everybody is a monster?
Yeah.
Let's train now, so when we're all out of school 2024, Fredonia and everybody else, Ryan, Diego, me, whoever else, we can have the greatest battles ever.
That's beautiful. That is the perfect outro. And I appreciate you coming on, bro. It was a very great conversation, bro. And I wish you the
for having
best on any endeavor you do, man. For real.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching.